The next one that I want to go through is the political alpha. So political alpha, the way that it's being done right now is we are literally scanning every single filing from every senator and congressman and congresswoman across the entire United States, and we're adding more countries as much as the data is available to us. And we're seeing whether or not they are adhering to the public stock filing requirement, which requires them to disclose their financial positions within 45 days of purchasing or selling or executing a particular trade. And it allows you to see that very in full detail. So for example, on May 14th, there was Edward Case, who's a Democrat in the House and doesn't have a particularly high win rate, but he's done 9 buys and 1 sell, and he was buying Apple. He didn't buy a huge amount, so he bought around somewhere between 1 and 15,000, but he only filed it today. So he filed it today. So this is where it gets interesting, right? So David Taylor is a Republican in the House who's done 197 trades, considerably higher win rate, and is compliant usually half the time. And I'll give you more details on that. But his delay was about 14 days from date of actual trade execution to date of filing. And if you want to take this trade, for example, and if you still feel like, the price is around 397, then you can just trade and then you can immediately buy it. So this is where you can connect any exchange that you could possibly imagine. So right now I have Alpaca, I have Charles Schwab and TD Ameritrade connected. You can have so many other venues, so it's completely up to you. But the beauty of this and the way that it's set up through this unified universal trade engine is that it literally covers 150 plus exchanges or brokerage venues. So if you have an E-Trade account or a Webull or a TradeStation account, etc., all you would do is you would just click setup, and then click connect, and then you paste in your consumer key and your consumer secret. I don't see it again, so it's all completely protected by Google Cloud KSM, so fully encrypted end to end. But again, this is the beauty, is that you can do smart routing and you can go and execute that same trade as a tokenized stock on chain if you want to, or if you want to execute that same trade for Google as an example, you can go and buy that trade, go long or short on E-Trade and Charles Schwab and Alpaca if you want. So it's completely up to you. So that literally the sky is the limit here. It's endless opportunity. And then there's so much more here. So you can do like a leaderboard. This is where it gets really fun. So you can look at the top stack ranked leaders, and you can say, okay, I want to compare Lisa McLean to Josh Gottheimer, and I also want to compare them to Daniel Goldman and Robert. So, and then what you do is click compare, and then it'll almost do like a fight card. So it'll do head to head. So like Lisa's been trading 1,400 times, estimated volume of 14 million. Alpha is whether or not she has sustainably outperformed the benchmark, which is usually Bitcoin, S&P 500, gold, and whether or not she's outperformed Warren Buffett, right? Because who doesn't want to outperform Warren Buffett? So Robert's actually the highest performer in terms of alpha, and he has the highest win rate, and he's 100% compliant, which is interesting. So that's definitely somebody I would be paying some close attention to. But then if you want to see who Robert is, you just click their profile, and then you'll be able to see exactly what I was just mentioning in terms of what their drawdown is, but also you can see how they're performing, right? So he's actually outperformed Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, Bitcoin, and S&P 500. So this is where it gets really fun, because you can take a look at exactly how he's doing and then see his trading activities, sector allocations, and what his current portfolio is as last disclosed. And this is where it gets really fun, and you can just automatically trade what he's buying through the Autopilot program that we built that I was mentioning earlier. So that's really political alpha, and there's so much more. There's flock analysis. Like if you go to the intelligence tab and go to flock signals, you could see whether or not there's any potential indication of suspicious insider trading, or whether or not there's people in cahoots, or there's coordinated, concerted efforts to be buying or selling particular stocks, or there's clearly some kind of pattern here where all of them are buying, Broadcom within like a few weeks of each other, or maybe not. I mean, I don't know if it's a conflict of interest, or whether or not there's communication between them, or it's completely clean. It's hard to say, but the flock signal allows you to identify that. And then there's shadow trading, there's bipartisan tracking, there's you can look at committee sector analysis to try to see the cross section, whether or not a Republican or a Democrat or a congressperson is part of an established committee, and they are positioning themselves in an advantageous way to go and buy or sell a particular stock that's tied to their particular party or tied to their particular committee. So this is where it gets interesting. And then there's heat maps where you can look at it by sector, you can look at clusters. Compliance is the part where you see how late people usually are. And usually it's a penalty of $200 after you surpass the 45-minute delay. So hopefully this makes sense. So political alpha is extremely powerful.